Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you for joining us for 3D Design to Infinite Colorways, automating variant creation for ecom, retail, and merchandising. For those who don't know, I'm Ashley Crowder. I'm the co-founder of VNTANA. We are a 3D visualization and content management platform that makes it easy to automatically convert CAD and 3D files into lightweight web-ready models so companies can easily manage, optimize, and publish interactive 3D and AR everywhere at scale. We partner with lots of different companies and have a lot of different integrations to help make it easy to use your 3D content everywhere. So we've been holding these webinars about quarterly with some of our partners, and we are so happy to have Will, the co-founder of Glossy, on today. So Will, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course, yeah, and thanks for having me. Quick intro on us. I'm Will. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Glossy, and we handle the other side of the 3D model management pipeline for creative automation with the 3D models you already have, like those you have stored in Ventana, to create photorealistic on-brand content at scale.
Yeah, and what we love about Glossy is they are a web version of Unreal Engine. So, like the power and beauty of Unreal, but in a much simpler way to use. So you can create some amazing rendered content. And as well as automating the colorways, which we're going to talk about today. So I am going to share my screen and go through a few examples. And before we dive into that, everyone here knows if you work in 3D, many of you have invested in designing in 3D for the business, and you haven't really gotten the ROI that you were promised yet. And a lot of that has come down to the time it takes to create all the different variants and colorways. And then once you have that 3D model, often it's stuck in design and it's really hard to leverage at scale. So when you do this correctly and set up your company to automate this content, we really see huge value. Um, so there's an auto manufacturer. They actually realized 80% reduced cost savings. They saved 1,000 hours in time for content creation, and they were really able to unlock the backlog of their products. So being able to, creating 3D models is step one, but then being able to automate content from there is really where you're going to get your ROI for your business. So we're going to walk through a few examples. First, we have this purse example. We work with a lot of fashion and consumer good companies. So this is an example of a purse in Clo. We've got plugins with Clo, Browseware. We're actually launching a Blender plugin in a couple weeks, which I'm very excited about. So whatever software you design in, you can easily upload to Ventana. And then once it's there, we are storing not just the native 3D file, but also the GLB, the trims, materials, all the different components of that 3D asset that is organized and tagged so that you can leverage it with other products like Glossy. So now that that is processing, I'm gonna jump into the actual platform. So this is that purse up here. And so we're always saving the original and the native file, but then we also give you an optimized GLB. So it can be that fast loading asset that you can use on ecom, wholesale, Amazon, wherever you're trying to publish. Now, this is a 3D web viewer, so we do have a lot of options for adjusting the lighting and some post-processing effects. But you are going to be limited within a real-time 3D web viewer as opposed to the amount of lighting and shading that you can do in Unreal Engine, which is really one of the benefits of Glossy. So within Ventana, we can automatically create some renders, but these are going to be limited to the viewer. And so with our webhooks, you can actually create triggers to send assets automatically to platforms like Glossy. So, what a webhook is, it's just the ability to trigger sending and receiving files based on actions. So, you can choose any action happening, such as just uploading an asset. So anytime an asset's uploaded, it could automatically be sent to Glossy and all your renders pack shots created in the style that you need. Or you can use our approval processes to say assets get uploaded. Once it's approved, then it can be sent. So there's a number of different events that you can trigger this on. But once you do that, just to show the quality is pretty awesome. Um, so these are some of the renders that were done in Glossy. As an example, the asset was sent through the webhooks, automatically all of these sent back as attachments. You could store them as full assets. It's totally up to you how you want to like manage your assets. But with that, I'll turn it to Will to show a little bit more of the functionality and how templates can be made to really do this at scale.
Of course. Thanks, Ashley. And yeah, so the best part there is that connecting with VNTANA, you can do this all automatically, from 3D model to high resolution 4K pack shots to your creative direction. But you can also automatically create projects within Glossy to then customize further. So quick walkthrough, of our platform. We have our 3D models here, that you can sync with VNTANA, our projects, templates that drive content, and then renders from all those projects that you can see here. So you can see the same bag project that we just brought up, see everything on that front, and we can dive very quickly into the project automatically created with VNTANA and see the promise of Glossy and Unreal Engine and browser. So you can see the level of detail, the level of quality here, and quick walkthrough on this front is that you have photo and video modes. So from a single 3D asset, from a single project, you can drop those assets in here and get very precisely, creative directed content down to, focal length, exposure, camera position, everything like that, even lighting presets. So we have some here, but we can very easily cycle through, different kind of lighting presets or even customize our own to match our brand. And you can go all the way down to, your model parts and colorways and materials and everything like that that we'll jump into now. So back to you, Ashley.
Awesome. Yeah. So, a huge pain point we know is creating all the different colorways. So, one of the things that we've been working on with a few of our joint clients is being able to automate that. A lot of our clients are using us to house not just 3D models, but their material libraries, their trims, their avatars. So, everything having to do with your 3D creation process, which is great because once it's there, and if your naming conventions have some sort of sense, so if you're using, black leather, and it's called black leather on all the different parts, um, it makes it very easy to create automation. So in this case, we actually uploaded new materials for this purse. So we have green, blue, black leather, and alligator. And we actually triggered that to update that single purse and automatically within Glossy create new GLB files with these materials. And then we sent it back to VNTANA. So now I've got not just that brown purse, but I have all my colorways. And so these are now GLBs that you can download. So same thing, we always send the high res original. So we still have that, 122 megabyte original file. But then we are optimizing it and giving you that optimized GLB to view and publish in the viewer, which you would, want it to be light to load quickly. So this is one way to really help streamline your workflow, reduce work for your team. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back to Will to kind of talk a little bit more about how this happens on the glossy side.
Yeah, so Glossy is built API first, so webhook first, so connecting with Ventana, super easy. and connecting those 3D assets and wherever you store your source of truth to, update colorways. On our end, make it hyper simple to create variants that normally take a ton of time with different colorways, as Ashley was just talking about. So here within Glossy, you can do this automatically, through a webhook, or you can do it in our platform, whether you're swapping materials at scale or creating color variants. So, some needs is, hey, I have specific product with specific fabric across a whole range of SKUs, let's say 100, and I have a new fabric material that I need to change. I can just say, hey, search through my 3D model library for this specific material group, make sure it matches, and then uh, change that into a sequin material. So you can do one swap across all of your models or models by tag. You can do the same with creating variants where you're actually creating much more complex setups here with different material groups. So we can say, fabric, um, lay, lace, and then, interior. And each of these material groups will be automatically filtered and sorted throughout your model library and then replaced with other materials here. So I can see the materials, the variants I've created, and then apply that across my whole catalog. So with a single asset, you can end up with, hundreds of different colorways with 8K materials created. And you can see that, this is some of the examples from that is this original bag through VNTANA, and then automated colorways and materials through Glossy. So some of these materials are 3D scanned, as many brands you have. But we also have AI 3D material creation where you can just upload an image of a swatch or image of your material, and we'll actually convert that into a PBR 3D material that you can edit and tune in the studio. So not only, can images be easily made, but 4K video, and 8K materials on each of these products. And yeah, back to you, Ashley.
Oh, great. Yeah, and you were kind of touching on that third use case, which we know is a big pain point, is when people have multiple SKUs that use the same material, and all of a sudden you want to update that material. And that would require you to go into God knows how many SKUs, some people hundreds, that use
Mhm.
that same material and make an update. And doing that in something like Clo or Browser or Blender is painful. We know. And so that's one of the things that we're, most excited about with this partnership, is helping to automate that. So we threw up just some furniture examples so you can see this chair and this nice side table are the same, wood material. And it's this original base color. But what if you want to change this to be a different option? And so you can upload your new material and actually like replace that within Ventana. And that can be PBR material, or as well mentioned, you can just upload a photo and leverage Glossy's AI to create that PBR material. And then as long as your naming conventions can be matched, we can automatically create new variants. So in this case, we uploaded an ash material and an aluminum, and we automatically created the new GLBs with these new colors. So that's the side table and the chair.
Mhm.
So real simple example, just with two assets. But I'm sure many of you on the
Mhm.
webinar that have had to painfully go through hundreds of assets and manually update. So
And Ashley, I can show us a little bit just in studio too of the quality of those materials. So,
great.
those 3D models, automatically created with this Fontana webhook, actually show up, in our studio and can be edited, right? Because, 3D materials, no matter what you're doing, depending on the lighting, depending on the, setup, everything like that may need to be tuned. So you can see here, this is that, same chair. I can zoom in, see the quality of these materials, and I can, dial in that look. So you can see here all those variants that we were talking about, aluminum, ash, all, selectable within the studio, and you can see, everything update. And I can dive into any one of these variants and adjust things like the color, UV scale, specularity, even, roughness, metallic, everything like that. So I have a really high resolution, fine grain control over each one of these materials that are, automatically applied and ready for me to edit.
Yeah, so ideally, you can go in, perfect that new material if you want, and then once you're happy, automate the rest, and then kind of spot check, and you can always go in and make fine-tune adjustments. The other piece that I don't know if you touched on, but I thought was super cool was with
Mhm.
the renders, your AI integration. I don't know if you want to
Mhm.
touch on that because I think it's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah, I can hop into that. So basically, a lot of different ways that, AI shows up in Glossy, and part of our unique structure and advantage is respecting your product integrity, your source of truth, your 3D data, and then moving that through an AI aided content production pipeline. So creating a 3D material is the first version of that. But from this project, I can export and create images, and then I can go in here and open my renders, and every one of these renders that I actually have control over AI edits on top of that. So each one of these things, I can say, make more photoreal, realistic, like shot with the camera, and I can apply AI edit on top of my source render that will respect, the source of truth, the scale, the 3D data, the lighting, and give you that next level of fidelity. So you can either do this like adding a, little bit more texture to studio shots like this to make it look, as real as possible, or take it as far as training a style on your imagery and putting, in situ in certain environments. So you can train your styles here, where you can drag in images from your website, train them, and then apply them at scale. And one thing is breaking this whole workflow of single AI edits, and instead making that more of an automatic, scalable workflow across all of your edits. And we do that through a new feature called pipelines. And this is one of the ways that we connect with Ventana, of having, certain triggers that you can set up here by creating a pipeline and running automations at scale with your 3D content all the way to final asset production. So here we have a trigger, that says listen to change from Ventana on a product update or material update, render um, through a specific template. So let's say this PDP white or shoe PDP. And then we can add the next step, and then we can say add an AI variant on top of that and apply a, style. So we just trained a, style with Sonos the other week. So we can click that, add it, and then export those renders all the way to Google Drive. So once this is set up and running, you can go, all the way from, hey, just open or just update a product in Ventana, and then have a whole new set of renders without even opening Glossy, that are, studio quality and exactly on brand.
Awesome. And kind of the best way to set yourself up for success if you're a brand just getting started in 3D or you've been doing 3D for a while. Um, we always talk about having that central material library so everyone is working from that same group of assets, having your trims as well, your avatars if you're doing fashion, and just having that central repository with some naming conventions. Now, they don't have to be
Mhm.
perfect, but having some type of naming conventions that people follow really helps unlock the ability to do a lot of automation and scale. So I know this was a really quick demo, but I do want to open it up for any questions. So feel free. Um, I believe the chat is open. Let me
Mhm.
double check. Yeah. Um, there we go. Everyone, we
Get
explained
it.
it all. There's no question.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, yeah, I mean, it's so if anyone here wants
Mm.
to, learn more, oh, here, what is the AI
Yeah.
engine that Glossy is using?
Yes. So we're using a custom version of Flux in our own AI server that we're actually bringing in the 3D information from the source project into that render. So not only do we have, better photorealism and custom training with Flux, but we have things like the scale of the product, right? And depth maps and normal maps and different render passes that you can only get from something, like Unreal. That is incredibly crucial for, production grade, best in class AI edits.
Great question.
Mhm.
Um, can you demonstrate AI background?
Yes, I can.
And then, Andy, see a lot of bags and hard goods examples in this demo. How does Glossy handle apparel and soft materials?
Great question too.
Andy,
Um,
we
so
can't demonstrate everything.
so this is an example. This is an example of adding a different kind of environment, right? But again, we're very customizable AI pipelines. You can put this on model. You can change it. We have different settings here to respect strictly preserve original render colors and position. And this is super important for, editing and again, maintaining that product integrity. So you have both the flexibility of changing this in a more intense way or placing it on model or having it like tip over anything like that. And then the control of keeping it exactly as it's lit, as it's rendered. So it's exactly the same. And it stops sharing to see the questions. Um, so apparel and soft materials you can import directly from Clo, right? So it's the same thing. We're working on, it's not live yet, but in the pipeline, applying like soft body physics. We have like product animations, already in studio. So we can, use the same, physical properties from Clo and, something like Marvelous Designer to bring live into, Glossy for, fit and drape and everything like that. That's notoriously, incredibly hard for AI to even get close to. And yes, you can generate on-model imagery. And yes, it is the same for browser.
Yeah. Um, awesome. And so, sorry, that's coming out soon, you said, or
Yes, yes, yes. So, Andy, I would love to talk further about this with you. But talking to a few, almost four brands in the last like 2 weeks, with the same need of, hey, how do we like use the best of AI and this AI generated imagery without distorting our, fit and drape and finish of these, clothes and real like 3D designs we have in browseware and Clo.
Yeah, and when we talk with a lot of our clients too, that's where, if we're sending assets to you or our N8N integration that you like connects with AI, those AI prompts get saved as metadata in VNTANA with the asset, so you know what prompts were used, and then it can flow through the approval workflow. So it was generated by AI. It has to get approved before it can be published because everyone's trying to figure out what AI is okay, what's not, what do we actually want? live
Mhm.
on our website or wholesale presentation.
Yeah, and this is a just to cycle through, this is a different example, right, of how flexible the AI pipeline can be. So this is trained on a reference image for a specific Solomon collection. You can see that this shoe, lit exactly how it should be. All the colors are perfect, everything like that. We extract the depth map, product map, everything like that, and mask, and can do something, much more creative, like this. And we can do that, with infinite flexibility and create, as many renders as we want. Often in the same pipeline setup I was showing before, you can take a single render and generate, hey, let's put it on model, let's put it in this environment, and then let's have a studio shot, right? So if you think about the standard package of assets you used to sell, you can do, all in one shot through a single automated pipeline.
Awesome. Any other questions? And if you think of questions later, always feel free to reach out. It's just Ashley@ventana.com. And Will, how can people get a hold of you?
Yes, will at glossy.io or go to
Easy.
our website, glossy.io, and you can book a call.
Yep. Happy to do demos for people. It's such an exciting time with AI, but controlled AI.
Mhm.
So
That's the key. And
awesome.
yeah, thank you everybody for joining.
Yep. Thanks so much, Will. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Thanks, Ashley.
Bye.